Hey there, you're listening to the Pursue Your Spark podcast. My name is Heike Yates, and on this show we talk about how to unlock your potential in your fitness lifestyle with tips, strategies, and interviews to help you create the life you love. Well, hey there, Heike Yates here, and welcome to the show. This month we've covered fashion and fitness. We had Misty Khan on the show earlier, and she was teaching us about how to organize our closet, how to combine clothes, and overall showed us how to dress for success in midlife. And we even got to peek in her closet. It was a lot of fun. Today, it's all about running. But before we dive into today's podcast, I wanted to know if you have asked yourself lately what your next big health and fitness goal might be. If you're not sure, head on over to heikeyates.com and grab one of my free guides. Simply go to heikeyates.com and download the guide that is right for you right now. So let's dive into today's podcast. I actually have two guests today, Lisa Reichmann and Julie Sapper. They are the owners and the head coaches of a company called Running Farther and Faster. They both are Roadrunners Club of America certified coaches. They have been featured and interviewed by Runner's World, The Washington Post, WTOP, The Washingtonian, ABC7, and NBC4, just to name a few. We have been friends for a long time and ran many races together or many training runs in the past. And they made it their business to coach others to run farther and faster and become better runners. So I wanted to share with you their advice, their story, and how they train their clients. I hope you enjoy. So welcome to the Pursue Your Spark podcast. I have two special guests and friends here on the show today, Lisa Reichmann and Julie Sapper. They're the owners and the head coaches of Run Farther and Faster here in Maryland. So welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Awesome. Today is a perfect day to run outside. Did you go run?
Yes.
Oh, so nice.
It's a little tease. It's a little tease because it's going to get cold again, but it's the start of spring, which is always the best time to run.
Yeah.
I know. We're so excited. And I saw your show. I saw you on NBC4. Is that right?
Yeah, on Monday morning. It was super fun.
Yeah, we're helping Molette Green get fit for spring. And anyone else trying to get fit for spring, giving tips on getting started running.
Yeah, that was such a great segment. And it's always, you guys look great. And you have such good support from your other people that are showing up for you to support the run and the
at 5:30 in the morning.
So today, the questions we have today come from listeners, my clients, and they wanted to know how to start running and rock running in midlife. And that's overall the topic or speaking point today. But for those people who do not live in the Washington, D.C. area, who the heck are you?
Go ahead, Lisa.
Okay. I'm Lisa Reichmann, like you said. I am middle-aged to start. Both of us we consider ourselves middle-aged. I'll be 45 next month. And I have been running. I was not an athlete when I was younger. I actually didn't do any organized sports. I still tell people I was the last picked for everything. I did some dance and cheerleading and that sort of thing, but never anything athletic. And I didn't start running until I was in law school as sort of a source of stress relief. I had some friends who would run and they'd say, oh, let's go run. I thought, all right, let's go for a little run. And my sister was a student teacher at a local elementary school here in Montgomery County. And she asked me if I would come run a little 5K one day. She said, you've been running with your friends. Do you want to come run this 5K? And I said, sure. And it was a very small race. It was mostly kids and their parents. And I ended up taking second place woman after Jean Arthur, one of our friends from the Montgomery County Roadrunners Club. And I thought, wow, they got a gift certificate or some prize. And I thought, that's pretty cool. I've never won anything before. And that was the beginning of it. I started with 5Ks, worked up to a 10K, that I would never run a marathon. And ended up running Marine Corps Marathon in 2000.
Okay.
And I have run over 35 marathons since then. So clearly that didn't happen, that vow not to run marathons. And I've run the Boston Marathon. This will be my 16th year running the Boston Marathon. I also transitioned into multi-sport.
Wait, 10, 1, 16?
16 Boston Marathons. Yes. This will be my 16th. Is that correct?
Amazing.
Yes. This will be my 16th Boston Marathon. So I also transitioned into multi-sport. So duathlon, which is run, bike, run, and triathlon after the birth of my third child. And do that. I actually enjoy duathlon a lot because I don't like swimming. So I like doing the run, bike, run.
Yeah,
So,
swimming to me is also the toughest part of a triathlon. I'm like, please, do I have to swim?
Yeah,
but for
exactly. That's the warm up. So and Julie and I met about 10 years ago.
Wait. We're gonna get to Julie first. So Julie, tell us about you.
So like Lisa, I was not on competitive athletic teams growing up. Like Lisa, I was a dancer and a cheerleader, and I hated to run. I always like to tell people about a journal I had that is now a book in my daughter's room, where I had to chronicle what I liked and didn't like about school, and I think it was third grade. And one of the comments when the journal had a blank, what I don't like about school was running in PE class. So clearly I was not a runner, and I never considered myself to be one. And then like Lisa, I was in law school and I couldn't afford to join a gym. So I went to American University Law School, and I would go out my apartment and run up and down Connecticut Avenue and just do a little bit more each day. And eventually that transitioned into me running a race with my first job at a law firm, Lawyers Have Heart, which I still run today. Yeah. And I'm also proud to serve on the board of that race now. And that then transitioned after a few years of running casually and running my first 10K. I found myself at the start line of the Marine Corps Marathon, also in 2000, like Lisa. And I ran my first marathon with Jen Schwartz, who is someone who runs with us in Montgomery County Roadrunners. And I finished in 3:59:56 because that was my goal, to finish under 4 hours. And since then, I ran Marine Corps 5 more times. I ran Chicago and New York, a smaller marathon outside of Chicago, and then I've run Boston now 10 times, and this year will be my 11th. And I'm proud to say that over the years, I've stayed pretty consistent, knock on wood. My first marathon time was 3:59:56, and my PR is 3:21. Generally, I run now, I'm 46, and I try to keep in the 3:20s to 3:30s for my marathons. And I also really like running shorter races too.
Yeah. So now, guys, you can hear running is contagious. So if you don't run just yet and you heard all this, and the numbers may not mean anything to you, what 3:20 is or 4, but for the runners that are listening, they know exactly what we're talking about. So both of them are speedsters. For those of you who don't know what that means, they are just loving to run. So be aware, after this podcast, you may start running and love it too. So with that, these two have met. So how did you guys meet?
So actually a neighbor of mine had been telling me for several years that, oh, you have to meet this other woman that I know. She reminds me a lot of you. She has young kids. She's an attorney. She, she runs a lot of races and does really well. And you probably know her name. And, oh, she just got certified as a running coach just like you. And my first coaching gig was actually, I was selected as a ambassador for a pedometer company, and they asked us to train a group of beginners to walk with the pedometers a 5K. And so that neighbor was in my training group, and we went to walk the goal 5K, and it also had a half marathon component. And while we were there picking up our packets, my neighbor said, oh, there is the woman I've been telling you about. Her name's Julie. Let me introduce you. So it was at that race that we met, and we exchanged contact information, and just got in touch after that. I had been doing a small running program at the Jewish Community Center of Greater Washington, and Julie had just started doing a running program for the City of Rockville Recreation Department. And I said to her, will you come help me with mine? I had more people in it that I thought I could handle by myself. And she said, well, how about you come help me with mine? And we helped each other and had really fun, a lot of fun. and enjoyed being with each other. It was like we were these long lost sisters that you heard our background stories are very parallel. And it was funny. We just kept discovering these similarities and wait, you too. And wait, you too. And we decided we could do this on our own. So we established an LLC, and we started it as really a fun thing to do, something we were passionate about. We both love running. It's brought us a lot of confidence, achievements. It's helped us balance our lives. And we wanted to bring that to other people. And it was more a labor of love and something just we really wanted to do in our hearts. And over the last 10 years, it's turned into a very large business. We've coached probably close to 1,000 runners now through groups, individuals, institutional programs. The Montgomery County Public School System we've done now for 4 years or 8 semesters, a program for their faculty and staff.
Yeah.
Programs for MedImmune, AstraZeneca.
Montgomery College.
Right, yeah, Montgomery College. So between all of those,
this brings us back to Montgomery County, because we met running in Montgomery County through the Montgomery County Road Runners.
yes.
And we ran Boston Bound with our former coach. And Julie, that's a good story you can tell.
Sure. So Lisa and I are also active members of the Montgomery County Roadrunners Club. And what we are doing with Run Farther and Faster, we consider us to be alongside the Roadrunners Club and collaborating with the club. We are not competitors. And we say that because the club brings us so much joy, and we enjoy giving back to the club. And we're so happy that we're also able to coach runners in and out of the club as well, and enhance club members through our coaching as well. And I was inspired to become a coach through being coached by Mike Broderick. I had, as you heard me say earlier, I had finished a marathon under 4 hours, and Mike helped me with his coaching. The first season I worked with him, I suddenly brought my marathon time down to 3:28. So Mike quickly taught me the importance of modifying your paces and understanding that there's a purpose to every run, and to never just go out and run the same pace every time. Once you've gotten past running the walk-run base that one needs to do, which we'll talk about in a minute. And Mike's coaching also inspired me because he really helped to form a community among runners where people work together rather than individually, and that's really key. So when Mike was teaching a coaching course, I took his course. I learned a tremendous amount, and sadly, Mike passed away almost 10 years ago of lung cancer, just as we were starting our venture. But I do remember talking with Mike about it, and he was so proud of me for doing this Run Farther and Faster thing. And he did know about us before he passed. And I always feel so good about it, because when we have a coaching challenge, I still to myself ask, what would Mike say? What would Mike do? And I know I'm not alone when I say that his influence has enhanced the lives of so many other runners and coaches in our area as well.
Yeah, so your coaching program, Run Farther and Faster, seemingly fits in with the running community that is around us, and that has never, at least my sense, never been a competitor to any of the other programs, or that anybody was saying, oh, look at them, they're coaching now another program. And I think that is a great benefit to our community, that everybody can find their niche. Because do you guys coach mostly women or some guys too?
We coach anyone. We coach people of all abilities, genders, and our groups have more women than men, but we coach a lot of men. Our Speed and Strength program, particularly, which is our group program that starts in May and ends in July, it is a specific program to help people with their form and strength. So wherever they're at with their level, whether they're very beginner or very advanced, they're able to work on all of those little things to make them a better, stronger, faster runner. So that does attract quite a few men, because everyone wants to be better, especially as we get older. We realize that there's little things we can do to enhance our running. Individual coaching we provide, which is where we provide virtual coaching for runners all around the country and the world. We have men that we coach as well. And frankly, it doesn't matter. When we coach women, we of course think about issues unique to women. When we coach men, we think about issues unique to men. I think everyone's an individual, and we do our best to coach people to their individual needs, regardless of their gender.
Yeah, I think women tend to gravitate towards the group programs anyway, in general. Women are just more social. They want to be with their friends. They need that camaraderie. Men are like, give me a schedule. I will follow it. I don't need to be with a group. So that just tends to, but we have both men and women. We come at it from our perspective of a woman and parent and busy family lives and juggling all of that. But a lot of those experiences we have apply to the men we coach too.
Definitely.
So how do you fit your running into your schedule? Speaking of a busy schedule.
Oh, that's a great question. You go ahead.
Really good question. So mine is a little more flexible. I work from home, so I can get out and run more often, but I have the added challenge that I teach cycling classes, indoor cycling classes, and I teach 8 of them a week. So I have to work those, not only my runs around that schedule, but making sure I'm not running too much in addition to the classes that I'm teaching. I count that sort of as my cross training and supplemental training to the running. So I have a little more flexibility. I can run in the daylight usually. I have shifted my schedule so that I do my long runs on Thursdays. I don't teach on Thursdays, and my kids are at school, and I feel like I don't have to take a chunk of time away from my family. And it's out of the way before the weekend. So I've been doing for the last couple of years my long runs on Thursdays, which saves me the time on the weekends.
So for the listeners who are not runners yet, what does it mean, a long run? Because we run like, you just go out and run, and you put on your shoes and you go. No, this is not how this is. So you have some shorter runs during the week, and then what we consider a long run on the weekend, which is anywhere from 2 hours to 4 hours.
No, it depends on what people are training for. If somebody's training for a 10K, their long run may be a 5-mile run on the weekend, or it's generally the longest run of your week.
Good.
So, and we are, for ourselves and for the runners we coach, don't like that to be more than about 40% of total weekly mileage. So if I'm running a 15-mile long run for that long run, then the rest of my mileage during the week is probably up close to more like 25 to 30 additional miles. So it's just the longest run of the training schedule, whatever that may be. For somebody who's training for a marathon, that can get up to 3 hours, something like that. So doing that long run and having that big chunk of time can be a challenge for a lot of people who don't have the time. We have runners who wake up at 4:30 in the morning to try to get it done. So that we help our runners with that, of figuring out how to fit it in, sometimes splitting it up if they have to, and trying to come up with creative ways to fit in if that's what they're training for, if they're training for a marathon.
Yeah. So tell me, if somebody would tell you, is it unhealthy to start running in midlife? I'm in my mid-40s and I've had my kids and my knees are maybe not so good anymore. Is it unhealthy to start running in midlife? And what obstacles might one encounter as they start?
I think whenever you can start running is a great thing. We have many runners that have started running in their 60s. I think that the one benefit of starting to run late in life is you don't have all of the cumulative miles that those who've started running in high school have. So I think there's 2 measurements with running. One is your age, and the other is how long have you been running? Because someone who's starting to run in their 60s who's never run, they have an advantage if they don't have all those cumulative miles. Conversely, someone who's taken a long hiatus but ran, let's say, for 10, 20 years from high school until their 40s, they may have some aches and pains left over from that time. So sometimes it's an advantage to run later in life.
And they may not be enthusiastic about it anymore. So
true.
That's,
burnout.
Right. It's changing what you do. And there's no reason, there's no contraindication. Age is not a contraindication to running. You have to start doing it. You have to do it the right way. So if you do it the right way, it's something that you can use as stress release. If you just want to be able, you don't even need to have a goal of, I want to run a 5K, I want a marathon. You can say, I want to incorporate running as an option for easy fitness. You just need a good pair of running shoes and you can go out your door. You don't need to join a gym. You don't need to make it to a class on time. So maybe somebody just wants an easy, convenient way to exercise. Maybe somebody wants their 45 minutes, 60 minutes of the day to meditate, and that's their run, is just to get out and decompress. And so it doesn't have to be that you decide in midlife or at any time, oh, I want to now do a marathon, or I want to do a 5K. Maybe it's just something you want to try, incorporate, you want your family to do with you. You want to go for a run with your kids or your spouse or your friends. So it can be any number of reasons that you decide to take up running.
Are there any obstacles that you can think of from experience working with your groups that you come across when somebody had reservations about why they don't want to start running?
I think anyone who's been working with you, Heike, they have an advantage, and that is that they have core strength. For people who don't do any resistance training or any core strength training, it's really important to do that at the same time as you're running, because if as we get older, if we just run and don't do any resistance or body weight training, that can cause problems, not only in terms of your muscles and aches and pains, but also your form, and also people who typically say, as you know, I have bad knees. Really, it's probably not your knees. It's that you don't have strong muscles surrounding your knees to support them. And as a result, you're having pains all the way up and down your, what we call the kinetic chain. What a pain, for example, a pain in your heel may be related to the fact that your butt is weak, and your butt is the powerhouse of running. So all of this means that it's very important when starting a running program, young or starting late in life, it doesn't matter, you still need to strength train.
Strength training.
Yeah,
So you don't have to be good at running to start running.
No.
Many of us are not good or don't feel like we're good. And that's the beautiful thing about running, is there's no real measurement of good. We don't say if you don't run X pace, that means you're not good. You're below good. It's, are you enjoying it? Are you healthy? Is it fulfilling whatever goals you had, that stress release, that time with your family, whatever? Is it making you happy? Is it, if it's causing stress, then that's clearly not. But it's really,
Yeah, and it's really also, it's important to remember, and this is huge, is that sometimes when people who don't run think about running, they think of people sprinting. The pace that's appropriate for all runners, and we subscribe to this as well, is a pace that you can talk and run at the same time. So when we start out beginner runners, they do walk-run intervals, run 1 minute, walk 1 minute, or run 30 seconds, walk 2 minutes, whatever works for that runner. And that run pace is one that they can run and talk at the same time. If that feels exceedingly slow, then that's probably the right pace.
Yep. I think this is a good thing to hear from a coach, that it's not all or nothing. It's not like you see the gazelles running down the street and you're thinking, oh my God, this is what a runner looks like, and I can't do that, which is so not true. As you just pointed out, it's like you start slow and steady and see wherever, just like Lisa said, wherever it takes you. It may take you shorter or longer distances. So you don't have to be good, and all you need to start running is what?
Running shoes.
From a running store. So you don't want to go into a big box store and look at the shoes and see that they have a section that says running and say, oh, that's a nice color, they seem to fit, let me take them. A running store, the staff will watch you run, see if you pronate, look at your feet, see if they have high arches, talk to you about what are your goals. Are you going to be somebody running 100 miles a week? Or are you somebody running 10 miles a week? Have you had any injuries? And then they will determine the right type of shoe for you. So there are stability shoes, neutral shoes. You may need an insert in the shoe, but really the most reliable source for that information is a running store. And the shoes may be a little bit more expensive than you get them in a discount store. But we always say spending money on the shoes is better than spending money on physical therapy later.
Yeah.
Very important to get the right shoes. And just so your listeners understand, they go into a running store and they tell them, you wear a size 7, but we're going to give you a size 8 running shoe. And they, wow, that's too big for me. That's standard, and that is correct, because your foot swells when you run. So don't be surprised if those shoes are 1 to 1.5 sizes larger than your standard shoe.
I made that exact mistake before when I started running and ended up with shin splints. I just went out and got a pair of shoes and just started running, whatever that was, had shin splints, and my toes was poking through the top of the shoe. So, but I had nobody that could help me or coach me at this point. So I gave up running and I said, nah, this is not for me. So this is good to hear for somebody, because I went through this whole shoe ordeal, investing good shoes, because that's really all you need to go out there and do your thing. I think that's super important to know. Now, when it comes to running overall, would you, if somebody said, guys, is this the perfect exercise to lose weight and get my hips down? Is running the perfect form of exercise for me to lose weight, narrow down my hips, get the thigh gap? And these are all quotes that I've been asked in the past, so I'm just going to throw them at you, and get a flat belly.
We like to say, start running, set a goal, and you won't worry about any of that again, because of the confidence that you get from accomplishing your goal. And if you go to the start line of any race, a 5K, a 10K, a marathon, even an Ironman triathlon, there are bodies of all shapes and sizes. There are people with big hips and big bellies, and they're going to beat you to the finish line. And there are people you look at and say, wow, they look like a professional runner, and they're going to be 5 miles behind you. And you really can't judge. Now, look, if you start any new type of exercise, from if you're doing nothing or you're doing one type of exercise and you switch, your body composition will probably change. You'll probably lose some weight at first, maybe not. You'll notice different muscles toning, and you may notice some shape shift, but really what determines your body shape is your genetics. So you're not going to run that off, and you really want to work with it instead and look at it as a strength. Great, I have really strong hips. I have a really, we were talking about the powerhouse of running. So if you've got a big butt, you've got a big engine, you've got a big powerhouse. So we always say the runners that we see start and then accomplish their goals, they sort of lose track in the end of like, oh, I started this because I was self-conscious of my butt. They're like, wow, I just finished a 5K and I'm strong. I don't even care. So can it change your shape? It probably will change some. You'll probably notice some shift if you've never run before, and it may help. A lot of people do use running to help with weight loss. When they do, they have to be really careful to fuel their runs properly. So the trap some people fall into is they don't eat well, and they don't eat enough, and they're running, and then they get injured because they're not fueling their bodies. So that's a tricky line where you don't want to be depriving yourself of nutrients and calories that your body needs because you're trying to lose weight and you're using the running to lose weight, and you end up getting injured. But generally speaking, we like to see the runners develop that confidence that they don't really care after that they think their hips are big because they just finished a 5K.
Yep. Confidence. I find too that running gives you so much more confidence, and you feel so accomplished and so healthy because you're outside and you enjoy the sunlight and you get fresh air, and you, like you said earlier, you de-stress. The benefits are so much more on that spectrum of what can I accomplish through running. But I just wanted to put out those questions that I've gotten, and I said, yep, the expert will let us know what exactly to do. So you touched a little bit on injuries. How would somebody prevent injuries, or is it possible to prevent injuries?
I think the most important thing is using common sense and listening to your body. We work really closely with a wonderful physical therapist at Pro Action Physical Therapy, Rachel Miller, who owns it. And she taught us many years ago to teach our runners the palm pointer test. So if you take your palm and you run it over your muscle, and the pain is around your palm, that's general soreness. If you can take your index finger and point directly to a pain and it feels like a bruise, then that likely might be the start of an injury. So if you have something that may feel like the start of an injury, using common sense would be to back off the activity that may have caused the injury. So take a day or two off and see how you feel. Test it out. If it still hurts, take another day or two off and do some cross training. And cross training is any other aerobic activity that's not impactful, that sort of can build your cardiovascular fitness in addition to running. Another way to prevent injury, cycling,
swimming, elliptical,
rowing. Another way to prevent injury is to follow a reasonable schedule. A lot of people use coaches. This is why we coach, because we provide people with the guidance that they need to hopefully prevent injury. And by runners communicating with us and saying, I'm following the schedule, but today when I went out for my run, my left toe hurt. Okay, well, it sounds like there might be something going on with your shoe where you're putting a lot of weight in the wrong place. Maybe go get your shoes checked. And in the meantime, let's take tomorrow off, even though your schedule says to run, so we can prevent it from being exacerbated. So sometimes it's just having a third party, whether it's a coach, a running partner, a friend, to just kind of take a look at the whole picture and tell you when to back off, and so you know not to run through a potential injury.
Yeah, a lot of injuries, if they have the right running shoes, and if they're doing strength training, which we can talk about more, happen because somebody tries to do too much, too soon, too fast. So they get excited, the weather gets nice outside, and they think, oh, I'm going to go run 3 miles, and they haven't been out all winter, they haven't been out at all, and then they say the next day, it's another nice day, I'm going to go do it again, and they might run a little fast because they're hyped up about the weather, they're pumped up, or they only have a half hour, so they want to get in as much as they can in that half hour. So those injuries happen with too much, too soon, too fast.
Baby steps, absolutely. Now, we're touched a little bit on the group aspect of, you guys have such an amazing group, and I keep saying that, and I've told you that before, that it's such a loving and supportive environment. I mean, every time I see pictures or talk to anybody, everybody loves both of you as their coaches, but they also love the program. So tell us more about the dynamic of a really good and supportive group training program like you guys provide.
I think the culture, like you mentioned, is really important in a sense of community in any good training program. One way to tell if you're new to running and you want to join a program, one way to tell if it's supportive is not just the coaches, but the people who are veterans of the program that are assistant coaches or who are serving as mentors in the program. If they're open and they're chatty and they're running with everyone and not just keeping to themselves, then that means generally that it's a community that's welcoming. I think a great sign is if all of the coaches in the program aren't just talking to each other, but are rather going and talking to everyone else. I think also, though, it's very important when a new runner joins a program to be open-minded, because sometimes we look at things and we may have perceptions that aren't true. So I think it's important to be really open-minded. We're all nervous when we go into new situations, and just know that every single person who's participating or leading a run program or any new exercise program has been in your shoes, literally, and knows what it feels like to be new to something and step outside of your comfort zone. And if you express your discomfort, 9 times out of 10, somebody will come to you and run with you and make sure that you feel safe and welcomed and happy to be there.
Yeah, and people come and they worry, I'm going to be the slowest, people are going to laugh at me. We can promise you, nobody there is paying attention to other people's paces. They're worried about themselves, and they're not even looking. But we do get a lot of people who say to us, well, I've never run before, and I'm going to be the last. I'm going to be at the back. Well, first of all, somebody has to be at the back, but nobody cares who that is. And maybe next season, you're not going to be at the back because you've made some progress. And that's why we like our speed and strength program that we do. It's on a track.
Nobody's left behind.
Nobody's left behind, and nobody knows which lap anybody's on. So nobody cares. But it can be very intimidating, and that's a comment we get not infrequently is, I'm not ready to join your program. I'm not good enough yet. I'm not fast enough.
I'm not a group person.
We say, just come out and see once you see the type of people, the bodies, the levels of experience, the speeds, you'll feel a lot better. And they always do. They say, it wasn't as intimidating as I thought it was going to be. So that's a great piece of advice is give it a try.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. So what would you tell somebody who wants to start out running? What would be 3 tips that you would give them when they said, I want to try running, but I don't know where to start?
Okay, so in addition to getting running shoes, because we've already covered that, tip number 1 is to start out with walk-run intervals, which means you walk for 1 minute or even 30 seconds, run for 1 minute or 30 seconds, or your interval could be, for example, run for 30 seconds, walk for 2 minutes, whatever is your comfort level. And try that for 20 to 30 minutes for your first run and gradually increase that. There are plenty of apps such as the Couch to 5K available. While we prefer to send people to running groups or coaches because that's more motivating, there are certainly places to start on your own. Within that tip, for tip number 1, when doing the walk-run intervals, as we mentioned earlier, make sure that the run is conversational, that you can talk and run at the same time, and that the walk is brisk enough that you can keep your heart rate up.
Okay. So not just sauntering down the street.
Correct.
Yes. Tip number 2 would be to find some running buddies or some accountability. So that could be a group, it could be coaches, it could be just some people in your neighborhood who get together to say, but if you're waking up early to run especially, and you wake up and there are people that are outside waiting for you, you're a lot less likely to hit the snooze button and say, I'll do it tomorrow. So having that accountability, and not only the accountability, but the support. And like Julie had mentioned before, the check on your, we've run 3 days in a row, maybe now we take a day off, and somebody to take a step back and look at your running, or you seem like you're tired, maybe you get a little extra sleep. So having that accountability and the buddy system is really is a great way for somebody who's just starting to try to get into that habit.
Yeah, I remember when I didn't show up for some of my runs because I wanted to sleep in, and all the crap I got from my buddies saying, hey, you slept in. What were you thinking? We're waiting for you.
That's awesome.
And now with social media, you can even like post like, here we were in the morning.
Yeah.
Everybody knows you slept in.
That keeps you accountable, right? Yeah, you'll know you missed that opportunity.
Okay, Run Farther and Faster peeps, watch out. Your coaches are onto you. They can find you on social media. You just heard it here live on Pursue Your Spark.
We'll see. And the third tip.
The third tip is to find your why. So if your why is signing up for a race to support a cause that's important to you, or to sign up for a race because you want to show your family that you can run a 5K, or just to have a race or a goal, maybe it's to run with your daughter if you have one for Girls in the Run. Whatever your why is, have that goal and hang it out like carrot and keep it in mind, especially when things get tough. You'll have a reason to keep going.
And if signing up for a race is part of that, actually getting on and registering and paying your money for that gives you the motivation and a solid date on the calendar that you've got to work towards. So it's hard to put off the training if you know you've got that date looming in the future to have that race, if that's your goal. But like you said, sometimes somebody's goal is just to be able to run with their kids, or to be able to go on vacation in the summer and run when they're on vacation and explore a new city or something like that.
Yep, I love to do that.
Me too.
Well, we're going to Australia this year, so I'm so excited to see where we're going to run in Sydney and Melbourne. So that should be
beautiful.
Nice photo opportunities.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Can't wait to
amazing.
hear about that.
Any final words for our listeners, and how can they reach you?
My final words would just be that running not only opens a lot of fitness doors, but it also opens a lot of opportunities to meet people that maybe you otherwise wouldn't meet in other settings. When people run together, they tend to open up and talk, and suddenly you have friends that you may not have otherwise met. And I think that's something that's really special about running. There's a community out there of runners. They're generally super nice people, and running opens doors personally and professionally. We both have found. So our contact information.
Yeah, you can email us at Julie and Lisa at runfartherandfaster.com. Our website is runfartherandfaster.com, and we are on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Run Farther and Faster.
Oh, and we have a podcast.
Yes, yeah.
It's a limited edition Boston Marathon prep podcast, but it's appropriate for anyone. We've had the opportunity to interview some really great people, and it's called Run Farther and Faster as well. Heike, thank you so much for having us. You are so awesome, and we know all the people that you coach are so lucky because you've worked with our runners, and you're amazing, and we just really love all that you do to keep runners strong and healthy. So thanks for allowing us to come on your podcast. We really appreciate it.
It is my pleasure, and the listeners need to know you guys only live about 12 miles away from each other, but it almost could be like they live on the other side of the planet. We train different terrains,
area.
So we have to get each other on the podcast to actually see each other and go, oh my God, I missed you. How you been?
That's right. It's awesome. Modern technology.
Yes,
so
definitely.
Thanks for being here and sharing all your knowledge, because I love what I see on social, how you train runners to become so successful and confident.
We do it with a team of people like you who help us help our runners. So we appreciate what you do.
Thank you.
We'll see you soon. Bye.
Okay, bye. Thanks.
So what do you think? Are you ready to buy some running shoes right now? I'm glad you were here and listened to this amazing advice that Julie and Lisa gave us. We also, of course, have a video that is on YouTube. So if you want to watch them and get to meet them in person, watch the video on YouTube under Inspiring Interviews. And while you're here, please leave a review for the show. I would really appreciate it. The more we spread the message about these amazing women sharing their stories, the more people will learn and grow. So leave a review for the show. And until next time, have an amazing day. Ciao.